Hello everyone, Storm 101 here. Today we'll be taking a look into a tropical storm Cristobal that's developed in the Gulf of Mexico, and we'll be talking about where this thing could go and how strong Cristobal could get. Also, we'll be talking about some severe weather, possibly MCS that could develop in Minnesota, going through Wisconsin, Michigan, even into the portions of the Northeast into tomorrow, and there's going to be multiple other days of severe weather to come for those for some more areas as well. But let's first talk about tropical storm Cristobal. Um, this was announced from the National Hurricane Center earlier today. Last night, National Hurricane Center called this Tropical Depression 3, and now it has become a weak tropical storm with 40-mile-per-hour winds. We just had a airplane that went right through it, uh, through the storm, or I think it's Hurricane Hunters or something like that. I'm not sure what the name is, but they did get some measurements and stuff. It is still a pretty disorganized low at this point, so when you have a disorganized low, it's not really getting that strength that much, but if it really starts to get organized, then some concerns start to rise, but it's going to be sitting in the same area, pretty much in the same area for the next couple more days, and eventually it should start to move northward. Pressure is at 1,004 millibars as well, and we'll take a look at their forecast here and their thoughts on this situation. So currently, your center is about right here. You can tell here it's going to be sitting here pretty much all day long. For the next few days. You do have a tropical storm warnings issued for portions of Central America or the coast of Mexico, and this again eventually should be moving north. It should start to move north Saturday morning, and the question is, where is it going to make landfall? At this point, models are hitting on, some models are hitting on and may get landfall over New Orleans, some at Houston. We're just not really sure yet, but right now, somewhere in Louisiana or Texas has a better chance for landfall at this point. Mississippi might have to be on the table for this one as well, um, for at least for the Gulf Coast. But as of right now, there is a lot of uncertainty in the forecast. I did make a forecast, which I'll show you guys that in a moment. And here's the chances for tropical storm force winds. And the highest percentage they have is a 50 to 60%. It's in a very small area, but I do expect these numbers to increase as we kind of get closer to the event. And now, hurricane wind speed probabilities is very low at this time. They don't really have an area for it just yet, but there might be an area trying to pop up. Again, here's the arrival time. I think it will make landfall probably at some point Saturday to Sunday. More than likely on Sunday. But here's my forecast here. This is a little bit different I've made here. Now, keep in mind, this is just a forecast. This will likely change as a disclaimer here. So, this is very far out here. Keep in mind of that. So, I don't want people going in the comment section down below say it's too early to forecast this and all that jazz. It is likely going to change. Okay? But this is my forecast for right now. So I'm forecasting this to become a Category 1 hurricane. I think there's a pretty decent chance of that happening. I think it will become a Category 1 hurricane at Saturday AM, and I think it will make landfall as a Category 1 hurricane on Sunday, somewhere between New Orleans and Houston, or maybe a little bit further west, southwest of Houston. Somewhere in there, that's where I'm predicting possibly for some landfall to occur. Now, then I think it'll be a tropical storm when it gets to landfall nearby Tower, Texas, Monday a.m. Then a tropical depression in southeast Oklahoma at Monday p.m. and dies out on at Tuesday, and you'll have remains. And then eventually, a cold front will sweep it away when it reaches to the Midwest and the Ohio Valley regions. But one thing to really consider about the tropical systems, if you're going to be on the east side, like places like Mississippi, Arkansas, maybe even Louisiana, this can bring the chance for tornadoes for you guys and all that stuff. It just if the low pressure system or Cristobal, if it starts to shift west, the fret starts to shift west. If it starts to shift east, the fret moves east. So not only this could bring storm surge, a lot of rainfall, and all that stuff, um, but it could also bring the threat for some tornadoes as well. So we could keep that out of the threat category. But let's move on to some models here. And like I said, Tropical Tempest doesn't work, so I can't really show you guys some model data. Well, a lot of model data or whatever. But only model I can show you guys is the European model and the waves, for the possibility for storm surge. Now, here's going for the day on Wednesday. It just kind of sits there for the most part. Then it starts to move a little bit. And the kids are going kind of like going up and down strength, about 35, 36 miles per hour. I think it'll still be a tropical storm, but I think it's underdoing it at this point. But when we get into Friday, this thing starts to move. And here's Saturday morning with this here. You're, now keep in mind, this is sustained winds, 53 miles per hour, so it's at tropical storm strength. Now at this point here, and again, I feel like the European model is underdoing the winds here, but there could be some wind shear that could interrupt this low pressure system. But we're gonna see about that. But for right now, I think it'll just be, I think it might able to reach um, hurricane force winds. And here's the wind gusts if you guys are interested. Nearly 80 miles per hour, which is tropical hurricane strength. And one thing that I'm a little concerned about is how this kind of sits here. If you want to see the difference with the GFS, here you go. It's actually a little bit further to the east here, actually hitting New Orleans. That's why I'm saying between Houston and New Orleans here. And it can go into Lake Charles here. Here's rainfall here. It's actually a pretty disorganized low. That could be due to some wind shear. It actually starts to get a little organized over land, which I kind of doubt it, but you can see how this thing here really starts to move along. And here comes your cold front right here, so this thing is going to get swept away, and it actually keeps on deepening, interestingly enough. Now, we highly doubt this is going to happen, though, this thing going to deepen. But if this does verify, there's going to be some severe weather to watch on the southern end on this thing here, so that's what we're really got to watch for, though. You can see GFS, it's pretty much gone. It's actually, I believe that's it over there, if I'm not, well, yeah, that's it. But my concern is, I think, if I'm correct, Cristobal might able to slow down before it gets to landfall, so there could be a little bit more rain associated with it. Some of its outer banks actually might be able to reach it to Florida, interestingly enough. Um, it's pretty interesting in my opinion. But you can see here, there could be a lot of rainfall with this system here versus the Euro, which is further west. There's still a lot of rainfall, but it's not as widespread. But really, the Gulf Coast states really need to keep an eye on this storm here. And we can actually take a look into the waves as well. And as you can see here, up to 13 feet out into the Gulf. Yeah, along the coast here, some pretty high waves to deal with. 8 feet, it's pretty high. You can see 5 feet. Let's go. Seems like the worst of it's gonna be right here. And as you see here, it just lasts for a while. Then as it kind of moves away, the waves start to calm down. And here's the GFS with this one. And as you can see here, it's actually a little bit stronger low. It's a little bit more intense. 17 feet. And look at when we get to shore. 14 feet on the Panhandle of Florida. Man, that's pretty bad. Here's Mobile, 8 feet. So this is stuff we're going to watch here. This can become a pretty serious system to really watch for. You can see here, the outer bands could just go for hundreds of miles. But really, any storms like these here, for example, does have a chance to produce a couple tornadoes. That's going to be another thing to watch for. But we'll have a better idea on this system here, or Cristobal, as we kind of get closer to the event, because really, landfall happens a little past, pretty much early next week. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the severe weather side of things. Here's the SPC outlook here for later today. We do have a enhanced risk for severe storms anywhere from southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, into central Wisconsin, and even now extending into central Michigan. Now, slight risk has also been pushed into northern Pennsylvania and southwestern New York State, and even northeastern Ohio. That's where we have the potential for an MCS will be occurring going through those areas. Tornado threat should be staying pretty low, but damage winds is something to really watch for, especially back into Minnesota, Wisconsin. Large hail is also going to be another big time threat as well, and actually might be able to pick back up again in the northeast too. Interestingly enough, there's even a slight risk for severe storms in eastern Wyoming and far northwestern Nebraska. Again, the main threats are going to be damage wind gusts, possibly up to hurricane force, and even for the chance for some baseball-sized hail, especially early on. Here's day two. We got a pretty broad area of a slight risk. There's actually two areas. There's one area anywhere from southwestern South Dakota through western Nebraska into northeastern Colorado and northwestern Kansas. Another area is anywhere from eastern Kansas through central Missouri, central Illinois, central northern Indiana, and Ohio. Actually, most of Ohio and most of Pennsylvania, northern West Virginia, far southwestern New York State, northern Maryland, into New Jersey. We can see a pretty long line of storms that could develop here and move southward with time, and it'll die out on the next in the next morning. I believe it's gonna be Thursday. The tornado threat should be sticking around in the Ohio Valley region, and even for portions of the Mid-Atlantic. Damaging winds will be the primary threat, but large hail is also there as well. There could even be some large hail in portions of the Central Plains there as well. And here's day three, where the front starts to become a little bit stationary. We really need to watch for the Central Plains. Models have been really indicating there could be a couple of supercells. There's a lot of instability around those areas, and there also be the potential for tornadoes, and there could be a strong one, um, especially across eastern Nebraska. We could be seeing this upgrading to enhanced risk maybe tomorrow. There's another area of concern for some severe storms, which that is like Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, West Virginia into Kentucky, even for North Carolina. Those areas are probably going to need a slight risk upgrade for large hail and damaged winds. But let's go into tonight's severe weather. Again, these storms here will start to develop in Minnesota. You can see how they start to get pretty organized. Now, I think the storms will be more organized than this, to be honest with you. And this is an MCS complex. And this will be going for the overnight hours. So you can see it kind of goes off the screen to the northeastern United States. The new line develops, and that's the some storms to really keep an eye on, especially when they come in clusters. If you got cluster thunderstorms, there's a pretty decent chance there could be some severe storms. And another thing to note is going to be the amount of instability, especially for later today. This is going to be surface based. Um, cable potential energy here. It's actually not that high, but some of our models, even last night, we're showing K values over 6,000 in southern Minnesota into to central Wisconsin, which is extremely high. And one of the soundings show 8,100 CAPE, and that is a lot of CAPE. That gives an indication that the air is extremely unstable, and there's going to be a lot of buoyancy in the atmosphere, so it will create some very tall thunderstorms. And this is going to be the echo tops here. This is how high some of these storms can be, and of how high they could be, about 48 to 50,000 feet. Yeah, about 50,000 feet in some areas. So they're going to be very tall thunderstorms. They'll be producing a lot of lightning, and they could get even better the next day, nearing 52,000 feet in central Illinois for a couple of storms. So the environment is favorable for the possibility for some large hail and damage winds on both of these days here. Let's look into a different model. Let's look into the NAM Nest here. As you can see here, it's actually a little bit worse on this here. You can see here, it kind of dies out, but the MCS kind of comes back again as it gets into Ontario, or I mean Canada. And here's your new storms start to develop here. There could be a couple MCSs in Missouri and Kansas there. We're going to have to watch for that. Dies out, then here's the next day. Some new storms will fire up in Tennessee, Kentucky, and eastward into the East Coast. That'll be an area to watch for right here. That could be another MCS trying to pop up into Friday. And yeah, time to make this video. Um, got, it's about 18Z. It's about that time. So let's look into the superset composite for the NAM. You can see it's pretty high across Michigan into to Canada there. It's pretty high. Here you go on the next day here. Showing at 6 in east central Ohio. We'll take a look at that. And there's quite a bit. K4600, which is down right here. There is some analogs indicating for some significant hail up to 4.5 inches size in diameter hail, which is extremely large. Not really a good environment for tornadoes all that much in that area as well. So tornado threat should be staying low overall. Next day is not as impressive, but there could be MCS ongoing in these areas in here. It's actually showing a pretty high superset composite value down that way as well. Yeah, this is a really good sounding here. 5,000 cape. Not really any analogs matching with this here, but definitely probably a chance for a couple spin of tornadoes along the MCS. And then today we're going to watch for, which is Friday. It's going to be this area in here in particular. This is where we have the possibility for some significant tornadoes as well. At least this model here has been, but it seems like it's backed it off a little bit. But there's a lot of cape, nearly 7,000 cape. That is a lot of cape, and there's a lot and you can tell here the air is very unstable. The wider the yellow line, the red line are, the more unstable the atmosphere will be. This photograph here does indicate that there be a possibility for a couple of tornadoes. Again, that just means the environment is favorable for stuff like that. But I think that'll be it, guys. This is our guy for. Man, I really messed it up, but this is all good for you guys today. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this uh, weather update. If you guys would like this video, hit that like button. If you really do like my channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification so you never miss an upload. If you guys got questions about this, you can put in the comment section down below. I will answer your guys' questions. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.